Now Gary Neville. Is there a back? No. It's kept in by England back on level terms. Yes!
Welcome back to CineMortuary, and yeah, I'm sorry guys. This is our infrequent and very informal and sometimes informative review show. And I'm sorry. I keep picking the bad ones. I thought that was the point of this. But you guys have just picked really enjoyable films so far.
Sorry, Dave.
And I'm just going through my VHS collection and picking out some absolute fucking... Yeah, sorry. Basically, that's the disclaimer. Didn't mean to. Did do, though. But, yeah. How are you, Rob?
I'm all right, Dave. You know, I'm hanging on in there. You've excelled yourself once again.
Yeah.
I can't really criticise you. You know, you're fulfilling all requirements of the podcast once again.
Absolutely. I feel like I'm the only one doing my job. I'm the jobber here. Just doing my role. Willie.
I hate you so much.
Wow.
Nice to see you too.
Yeah.
I mean, sorry, hate's a strong word. I will murder you in your sleep.
It's a bit harsh. At least just like leave an horse's head next to me or something.
Oh, good idea, actually. Never done.
Yeah. So, it was my choice this week, wasn't it?
What's your choice this week, Dave, and what did you choose?
1994's Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Produced by Francis Ford Coppola. Yeah. Directed by Kenneth Branagh, Kenny B himself.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Couldn't tell. Absolutely couldn't tell.
Co-produced by the legend that lives, Fred Fucks.
What does Fred do?
Fucks, man. Yeah, a little bit of an internet legend, but I only really noticed it when I was watching this film. And at the end it says co-produced by Mr. Fred Fucks. And he's also on the end of Dracula as well. Bram Stoker's Dracula, which I'm sure I'll whip out when you're having a bad time.
I'm sure you will, motherfucker.
I do apologise.
So yeah, and also I noticed written by Frank Darabont.
Written by Frank Darabont, the worst film to the best script he's ever written, apparently.
Crazy.
Yeah. He said he really liked writing it, said it was his best work, and watched it, and
he got Branagh.
it got Branagh, mate.
Yeah.
Didn't it? Well and truly.
Well and truly Branagh, mate.
100% Branagh, mate.
Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah, so Dave, why did you pick Kenneth Branagh presents Kenneth Branagh's Frankenstein starring Kenneth Branagh's Kenneth Branagh?
And Tim Burton's wife, don't forget Tim Burton's wife.
That's Kenneth Branagh.
Well, I was in Blackpool picking up a new Laserdisc player, and the guy allowed me to pick through his collection because he was selling it all off. And I was going to buy 900 discs off him.
Right, that's quite a lot.
Then I saw what he had, and I came in with 30 films, put it that way.
Right.
And that was a stretch. One of them was a dog training video.
Brilliant.
Yeah, one of them was The Phantom, starring Billy Zane.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah, most of these Michael pushed me to get because he wanted to make it a worthwhile trip.
Yeah.
Well, why are we recording this when we can be watching the dog training video right now?
Cut, let's go.
On this series, I propose to teach all you and the viewers my method of training dogs.
I want you all to say together the ditty.
Throw the hands forward, jerk and let go. Splendid. You didn't give the sit signal quick enough, did you? Sit, bang, you see? Well, that wasn't a very creditable performance, was it?
Yeah, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein was in the selection, and with its little lightning bolts on the front and its "Be Warned" sign, and I kind of chuckled to myself, and I thought this will come in at some point.
Yeah.
And
Be warned.
Come in, it did.
Be warned, this film is a burning bag of balls.
Yeah,
That's what I should have read, Dave.
yeah. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay, mate. It is the point of the podcast.
And me and Eleanor have been on a big Frankenstein binge lately.
Sure.
So we've watched nearly all the originals now.
Yep.
From 30s and 40s.
Right.
And obviously I was going to top it off with this little number. I mean, there's probably about 50, 60 Frankenstein films altogether.
Yeah.
But this...
And you chose this one.
There are worse.
There's a hushed
60s
silence falls across
60s and 70s
college studio.
Frankenstein. Jesus Christ. You think Blackula was bad?
Blankenstein.
No, Black Frankenstein, mate.
Why don't we call it Blankenstein?
It's not obvious enough, is it?
So, contextualise this for us then, Dave. Who are we? Where are we? Who are the players in this car crash?
Okay, so it is a 2 hour 5 minutes version.
Correct,
That
yeah.
you guys have seen.
Half an hour too long, mate.
Yes, mate. I saw the version that was a little bit shorter, but yeah.
Okay, well
And it's so it's 1994. Kenneth Branagh's having a go at directing for the first time. All-star cast. We've got Helena Bonham Carter,
Yep.
Kenneth Branagh himself.
Yep.
I thought it was Billy Connolly, but it's actually Basil Fawlty.
Yeah,
John Cleese.
John Cleese, that's it, yeah. Bilbo.
Ian Holm.
Ian Holm, yeah.
I've got a list of them all here, Dave. Couldn't believe it. This is one of my main notes. So
Well, go on, then. Do you want to list it out for us? Because I can't remember all these fucking...
Kenneth Branagh.
Yep.
Robert De Niro.
Yeah, Robert De Niro's in it, yeah, for a little bit.
Helena Bonham Carter.
Yeah.
Ian Holm.
Yep.
Shelley Lungi, who I remember for Nescafe adverts in the 90s, but she was quite a big actress in the 80s and 90s as well.
Who was she in this film?
She was the mother of Frankenstein.
Ah, yes. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. Robert Hardy,
Yep.
known to the Harry Potter fans out there as the guy who's the head of the Ministry of Magic.
Yeah.
John Cleese.
Yep.
Richard Bryars.
Yeah,
Yes.
I was really surprised to see him in there. I don't know, I was quite happy for some reason. I've never watched A Good Life, but you know.
Celia Imrie.
Yep.
And in a very small role, admittedly, Hugh Bonneville.
He was Hugh Bonneville.
He was in Downton Abbey, mate. He was the main guy in that, and he's in Paddington.
Yep. Okay. Yep. I'm with you now. Yeah.
So it's quite a meaty cast, Dave.
It's a meaty cast. Straight away, that is a lot of money.
Yeah.
That is a lot of budget.
It sure as shit is, mate.
So yeah, everyone really kind of knows the story of Frankenstein. And this is part of Francis Ford Coppola's 90s attempt to reinvigorate the Universal Monsters franchises,
Yep.
but tied in closely with their original source material. Unfortunately, as far as source material goes, there's those two, and then there's Jekyll and Hyde. So that's it.
Yeah,
And then The Mummy happened, and then reminded us what films, could do when they wanted to be fun.
absolutely.
Story of Frankenstein. I will point out, Frankenstein is the name of the scientist and his family, not the monster.
No.
Just to make it easier.
Oh, great, that makes my notes confusing. Man.
Yeah, well,
Which is pointed out by Robert De Niro later on in this film when
Yeah.
he says, "They didn't give me a name."
yep. I'm not Frankenstein.
Yeah.
I am not Frankenstein, I am Frankenstein's monster. Get it right, you pleb.
You can call me Jeff.
Jeff Frankenstein. Yeah, so he goes off to medical school, and he's got some wacky ideas.
Anti-just, Dave.
Anti-just, yeah. Straight away,
Brilliant.
off the bat, character motivations are just kind of like being flown around like shit in a chimp enclosure.
Yep.
Some stuffy old professor says, well, once you take the brain out of a body, it's dead. And Kenneth Branagh, he's had a few cups of coffee and it's in a monster.
Yeah.
And he's kicking off about this. And about 10 minutes later, he's constructed an entire lab out of his meagre student wage.
Yep.
And he's, pretty much brought life to a monster.
Well, I think that wraps it up, doesn't it?
Yeah, end of episode, right. Done.
Cut.
On this series, I propose to teach you and the viewers my method.
So we kick off in the North Pole, I believe.
Obviously.
I think that's the card.
Yes. It's a book-ended movie, mate. You see.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
There's two things I'd like to point out immediately off the bat here with this sequence that bothered me in the North Pole. The North Pole. I repeat that for context. Number one, it's fucking raining, mate. Why is it raining in the North Pole?
Absolutely.
Point one. Point two, not only is our chaps on a ship in the North Pole where it's raining, no one's even got a hat on, mate.
No.
So why?
No one's really dressed for the occasion.
Not at all.
really, no.
Not even
North Face
slightly.
jacket inside, mate. Absolutely.
No. So it's raining, we don't know why, and nobody's wearing a hat.
They might as well be wearing the boob tubes that they were wearing in Jason X.
Yeah.
You got a point 3?
No, that's my initial observations of the North Pole sequences.
Well, point 3 for me is there's only one person with an American accent in this film,
right?
and it's the ship's captain. And I don't think there's any point to that.
No, maybe
It's
he
just a bit weird.
Maybe they got him in for because as you know, I work in film and TV.
Yes.
And you have actresses and actors who you have in for just the odd day here and there. Conveniently enough, they're referred to in the industry as dailies.
All right, yeah.
I think it's just a daily bloke. They got in, didn't properly audition. He turned up and was like, right, let's see your British accent.
And it comes out sort of like a cack-handed Irish.
Yeah, so
like
then
he's
they
eating
think...
hot chips.
Yeah, exactly. So they think, oh, fuck it, just go with what you are.
Sounds like a newspaper, doesn't it? The Daily Bloke.
Yeah,
The Daily Bloke.
could be a thing.
No, it's just the sun, isn't it?
So yeah, we've got our guys chilling on the North Pole,
Yep.
Yeah.
literally.
And
They crashed the boat, obviously.
yeah,
Crashed
say
the boat,
there's a literal Titanic situation going on with actual iceberg. Yeah, their hearts will not go on for much longer. Because they get stranded on ice, and while they're trying to dig themselves out, a mysterious man comes in from a blizzard, and oh fuck, it's Kenneth Branagh.
It's Kenneth Branagh doing that guy from the start of Hardware, and he's basically got an entire marketplace on his back.
Yeah.
Don't know what all that stuff is on his back. But
Free DVD.
I'm disappointed he didn't amble up to me and go, "Hi, I'm Kenneth Branagh, star of stage and screen and director of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein."
Well, he basically does in the next little sequence, because the monster is sort of in the distance, and like they're huskies or whatever.
good sound effect on that, though.
It is, yeah.
Robert De Niro again being good in this film.
He is, yeah. And so he scares off the dogs, and it looks like at any moment the monster is going to come and kill them all. And then Kenneth Branagh goes and has a sit down in the ship, all casual like.
Yep.
And in there, he rambles on about some things so he can get to the line of just saying, "My name is..."
Yep.
Pause. "Victor Frankenstein."
Thunder.
There is thunder.
There is
One of
thunder.
8 Castle Thunder samples used in this film.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, I noticed that, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, to be honest with you, both Kenneth Branagh and the crew of this boat should be less concerned about the fact that they've hit an iceberg or the fact that he's randomly walking around in the North Pole.
Yeah.
They should be more concerned about the fucking climate going on in the North Pole at the moment, because we've got
Absolutely.
rain, we've got thunder.
Yeah.
That's not okay, mate.
Global warming, mate.
It's not a myth. For fuck's sake.
Donald Trump watched this film.
Yeah. You gingerbread cunt.
Oh, not the G-bomb, man.
Wilson's not travelling to America anytime soon.
Hey. Okay, no.
Very strange set of weather circumstances. Some might say contrived.
Yes.
Sorry,
Possibly.
listeners.
Sorry.
And it's at this point Kenneth Branagh does his first irritating thing, which when he lies down on the couch in the captain's quarters, he does dramatic pose number 1.
For the benefit of the listeners, Dave has reclined back and put his hand behind his head in a sort of Roman emperor kind of pose.
Yeah.
And put his groin in the air.
And taking his trousers off.
Yeah.
Very strange. I mean, I put this a little bit later on in my notes, but seeing as you've so tidily made that point, throughout this film, I'm confused by who Kenneth Branagh's playing. See, I don't know.
I know this one.
Go on.
Kenneth Branagh.
It is either Kenneth Branagh,
He's
Frankenstein, probably not,
Possibly.
Heathcliff.
Yeah.
All the way through, I just couldn't help but get this whole, like, Wuthering Heights vibe off him.
yeah.
Very, very, very strange. Like, he doesn't want to make this film. It's like, it's not so much Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. It's more, it's just more Bronte kind of approach to filmmaking. It's very strange indeed.
I summarise the film as foppish twattery.
Yeah,
pretty good.
Yeah. I think whenever you want to describe the film, it's that. Yeah. Do carry on.
And speaking of foppish twattery, I will say correctly, we flash back to Geneva, and there's a shitload of time jumps that happen quite quickly. But while Victor's studying like a nerd,
So this is back in time.
yeah, this is back in time. First of all, we have his mother who dies giving birth to his brother William.
His baby brother, yeah.
Yeah, he comes up later on. Pay attention to that. So much blood here, just to point out. So much.
There's a lot of blood, man.
It's quite grotesque.
Yeah.
Realistic, but grotesque.
It does have its moments. I mean, we'll come on to it later, but this film does have 2 or 3 moments that are genuinely grotesque, and it does remind you every sort of 45 minutes or so that it is a film within the horror genre.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then it forgets that it's a film within the horror genre again and thinks it's a Merchant Ivory film, which is very...
There's moments like the childbirth scene where it feels like it's come from a Hammer heritage.
Yes.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah.
And it isn't a British film, I don't think, because it's American finance shot over there, whatever. Excuse me. But it does feel like they're aware that it is going into Hammer territory at times, and they revel in it a little bit.
I think that's kind of you sort of have to do that to an extent. You have to be respectful of what's come before. Yeah.
And then we go to 3 years later. After Victor plays around with some electricity, he snogs his sister.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
adopted sister.
I was about to say.
We're still on very stony ground, though, aren't we? Either way.
It's not made very clear. It's sort of like blink and you miss it. If you don't know the story, which I must admit I forgot, so afterwards I had to look up and go, oh, right, it's an adopted sister. But let's face it, it's only one better than marrying your own adopted daughter.
Yes.
So,
It's still not okay. You know,
We're
it's
10
still
minutes,
not okay.
We're 10 minutes into the film. We've gone through 5 different time zones so far.
Yeah.
And yet, like you say, we're introduced early on to this idea that Big Vic Frankenstein is really fucking into electricity.
Yeah.
Which is, it comes in further down the line, I'm sure you got it in your notes, where he just becomes into stuff or knows stuff or figures stuff out purely for the sake of moving stuff forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's kind of like we sort of mince around a bit and flop around and be a bit Heathcliff for 20 minutes, and then we'll discover something and tell the audience we've discovered it, and then that'll move us on a little bit, and then we'll have some really cack-handedly done lightning effects. And I have to say, for a film that's made in 1994, we're talking post-Jurassic Park world here. Let's remember that Jurassic Park has come out. That exists. Those effects exist in our world, and for them to do such a fucking naff job of something so rudimentary as electricity and lightning is pretty damning, to be honest.
Yeah, considering it's like a stock effect that has been part of Adobe Premiere for the last 15 years.
I was about to say,
even in college, we could bang lightning and stuff.
Yeah, that's the first thing I did when I got to college. In that media suite at Franklin College.
Yeah, lightning all over that shit.
Lightning everywhere. So after that, Victor moves to Ingolstadt to study and basically argues a toss with one professor.
Straight away.
Yeah, immediately. And the way he does it, it's... The way Kenneth is saying all the words, it's almost hyperbolic pentameter in form. He sort of forgets that this isn't theatre.
Yes.
And it's just so long and bellowed and over the top, and
everything is just fucking bellowed to the rafters.
You might as well call this first hour of this film for your consideration, because it's clearly going for an Oscar, but he doesn't actually know how to get one.
No.
Lots of bellowing, and the chap who plays the lecturer in question is Robert Hardy, who is also a bellowy man.
Yes.
And so they there's a couple of scenes where it's basically between them. It's about 5-10 minutes of screen time at various points in the sort of first third of the film, where it's just literally Kenneth Branagh and Robert Hardy shouting at each other.
Yes. Yeah.
Across a packed room full of people who couldn't give a shit.
Yes.
Like supporting artists and extras who've not been told where to stand properly.
Absolutely, just kind of looking awkwardly around. I think the environment they're given to do it is very good. I think the distance between the two is fantastic. The fact that they've elevated Frankenstein to like the 8th floor of this big Colosseum type thing. And they're just shouting at each other down a big tube. I think that's a real nice set piece.
Yeah.
It's just what they're doing in it is just...
It is just theatre.
Yeah.
And I think Kenneth, as a director, should have thought more about how to put it across a lot better than just shouting words at just because there's so many of them. You don't remember any of it, and it's pointless.
I think it's worth, as is my fashion, I like to try and pick out some positives. So I'm going to pick out 2.
Okay. From this scene in particular?
From the film in general, but in particular the scenes that we get to later in his little makeshift laboratory, and also this couple of scenes we've seen with the staircase in the Frankenstein house, and also this scene where they're shouting at each other. I think the set design's quite nice.
The set design is very good,
I think the production design's nice, and also the architecture of the Frankenstein house is also very nice. So, shout out to whoever the locations department were sourcing that one. Unsung heroes of film production. I think some of the locations are really nice as well.
Yeah. I think I agree with you, but to kind of counter that, Kenneth Branagh doesn't know how to use a space, because he treats every environment he's in like it's a stage. And because of that, while the spaces look incredible, if you were to stand and look at his laboratory for like 3 hours, you'd just be looking for days of detail.
Yeah.
Just like all the incredible stuff. But because of that, the spaces don't seem to have much motivation. And the camera work doesn't have motivation.
Yep.
It's all dialogue driven.
Yep. No, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think that's,
I think that's what drags the film to a crawl, to be honest, and makes it just so flatline.
Absolutely. But, whoever the locations department was and whoever
Oh, absolutely.
the set designer was have given them the tools
Yeah.
to do with the job.
Yeah,
But the
yeah.
job is not done. Is it, Dave?
It's not done by the people that should have done it. No,
No.
I think the people that have dressed the sets, made the sets, and constructed everything, they've done such an amazing, thorough job at making a believable real world.
Yeah.
God damn it, Kenneth.
Kenneth!
So after that, he, after all these arguments, he comes across another professor, bizarrely played by John Cleese.
Geneva, I warn you, what you are suggesting is not only illegal, it is immoral.
Rubbish!
Dear Diary, why does no one understand me? P.S. I am not mad.
You! Explain yourself.
Professor, I'm sorry. Listen, I came here to learn all about the new science, about galvanism, Franklin's experiments, the combination of modern disciplines with ancient knowledge in an attempt to protect and create.
To create what?
So we can change things. We can make things better. Now, you know that. We are on the verge of undreamt of discoveries if we only have the courage to ask the right questions. Now, you must help me. Please.
Come on. Victor.
And I say bizarrely because apparently they didn't want him to look too much like him.
So I thought it was Billy Connolly.
Yeah,
It's like-
so they had a prosthetic jaw
Yes.
on him, wide and did stuff with his teeth, so he just didn't look anything like John Cleese in a lot of angles, which makes you wonder why they cast him in the first place.
I'll tell you who he reminded me of in this film, John Cleese. Excuse me, and I've put it in my notes here.
Yeah.
He reminded me so much of the mad scientist dude from Independence Day that I couldn't see past it.
It made him look like Brent Spiner.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. I mean, Independence Day was 2 years later, so it's not them, I'm sure, but
Yeah.
obviously, once I got that vision in my head, I couldn't take that shit seriously.
Yeah.
But John Cleese isn't in the film for that long, actually, quite surprisingly, because after he shows Victor Frankenstein some of the things that he's learned, after a routine inoculation of all the commoners, and I say that because of a point that comes up later on, one certain commoner who looks a bit like Robert De Niro, he doesn't want to have an injection, and he decides rather
Yes, he
than
doesn't
have
want to
that,
be vaccinated.
he don't want to be vaccinated, so he decides it's a lot easier to just kill John Cleese and actually just get a little jab.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah,
Spoiler alert. Then what happens to him, Willie?
he gets hanged.
That boy don't fuck.
No. And as he's being hanged, he says, "God will punish everyone." And have you seen Meet the Fockers? So
Analyze this.
Hey.
Yeah, John Cleese is out of the picture. It's at this point I'm going to make my first kind of correlation with the original films it takes inspiration from. So I'll make the point early. This is called Mary Shelley's Frankenstein.
It is.
And you would therefore assume that it would take more inspiration from the prose material than the previous films.
You would assume.
Yeah. I'm, as far as I can tell, because the first two Frankenstein films are directed by a gay fella, and a lot of it was a metaphor for homosexuality and repression at the time.
Sure, yep.
In Bride of Frankenstein, there's a character called Dr. Pretorius who kind of gets Frankenstein back into doing the, the animating the undead sort of thing.
Yep.
And I think John Cleese is supposed to be the Pretorius.
Right, okay.
Because he's supposed to have, half done the work, and he gives Frankenstein his notes to keep going.
Yeah.
And kind of lure him back to the that side of things. So this is one of many things that has been taken from the films.
Yeah.
Under the illusion of being from the book. But yes, do continue.
well, he's speaking of using his notes. He reads through the notes to find out that he can really reanimate the dead using human tissue.
Yes.
So he nicks De Niro's body while it's still hanging from a noose, and he nicks John Cleese's brain.
Yes.
Yeah.
Again, taken from the films, not the book.
Yeah.
I am a Frankenstein dickhead, by the way, so I'm going to keep cutting in like this.
Yeah. And again, during these scenes, between him nicking the body parts and the monster actually coming to life. It's again Kenneth Branagh rambling on and on and on, and it is again him trying to get a highlight reel ready for his inevitable.
He's doing his show reel on Vimeo.
Yeah, but never happened Oscar nomination.
So at this point, he's going through this notebook and figuring out he can do it in about 10 minutes.
Yeah,
because he's a genius. And then does his girly friend turn up?
Right towards the end. Basically, we've got the cholera outbreak happening.
Yes.
At the same time, and on the morning where apparently they're coming to
evacuate.
Whoever's coming to evacuate, she turns up, and this is like right at the end of him testing before he's going to do the final experiment.
Yeah.
And what happens there then?
Does he turn her away?
Correct.
Yeah, he turns her away, which is very confusing.
Considering she's back again in about 10 minutes.
Yes, that is what it makes everything just really fucking confusing.
Yeah, let's say, why don't we just have her turn up afterwards?
Yeah, that would have made more sense.
Turns her away into a cholera-stricken plague city, which is lovely of him.
Yeah.
And then kind of runs around sweating and gets feverish.
He does get feverish. Very feverish.
Very feverish.
We get into the nitty-gritty, don't we, really? We start running along, as far as I'm aware, towards the reanimation of said body.
Yeah.
Now, this, for a whole fucking litany of reasons, mate, is the cliche moment of this episode. The special effects, again, fucking dire, more naff electricity. And then we've got Kenneth Branagh really, really going all out for that Oscar here with
the shirts come off.
Yeah, the shirts come off, and I've written this down. He says the following: live, 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 live. Pause. Then he says, no, no, no. And then there's another long pause.
Yeah.
And then then De Niro bangs his hand on the side of the little porthole, and then he says, "It's alive!"
It's alive.
And Kenneth delivers the lines exactly like that, which is why he didn't win the Oscar.
That was I've been carefully studying that scene since you selected it, and that is my closest approximation.
That's very immersive of you. It was like being in the film right there in my bed.
Thank you.
Rob Yeoman's The 4D Frankenstein Experience.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
sponsored by Mary Shelley.
Yeah,
and Monster Energy drinks.
And Kenneth Branagh. So then
I like. We'll talk about. Should we talk about the reanimation scene?
Yeah,
for a little bit.
Go ahead.
Because it's a divisive one.
Yeah.
Because there's so much good stuff going on, and it cuts to Branagh, and you're like,
yeah, exactly.
Right,
I mean, aside from the shite dialogue, that aside, do you know what? I actually quite like this scene.
Yeah.
I like it from the moment that De Niro spills out of his little box thing with the amniotic fluid everywhere, and they make it's some uncomfortably long sequence of Kenneth Branagh trying to pick him up, and then they're slipping and they're falling over, and he accidentally strings him up in the rafters, and it's that whole
bangs his head and gives him brain damage.
Yeah. Exactly, and it's the whole sort of shock of the fact that he's actually succeeded, and the complete lack of readiness for the reality of that. And I think it's quite. I do think that bit's quite nicely done.
Yeah.
There are obviously issues around Kenneth Branagh
in
this scene in particular.
I mean, he's kind of swanning around in a dressing gown with his shirt off.
Yeah.
But around him is just kind of like... It's also ludicrously over the top. It's like an episode of Pat Sharp's Funhouse.
Yeah.
Just all this stuff on chains and pulleys just flying everywhere. It doesn't really need to. You can just wheel him on a gurney.
Yeah.
But they have him flying across the ceiling on this chain bed thing. And they've got all these really cool, almost steampunk-looking ways of reanimating a body. There is a weird-looking giant arsehole thing on the ceiling with a tube that comes down that is full of electric eels.
Right. Oh, the
throbbing
eels were
arsehole.
mentioned beforehand, I think, as well. Very strange.
But yeah, it's just a very... It feels quite old school in how ludicrous it is.
Yeah.
It's quite expressionist, quite surrealist, and it looks very interesting. And I just wish there was more of it. It's like it's almost built a cathedral in this attic with all the chains and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just like the funhouse idea. like Robert De Niro, like reaching out and like grabs like the ticket for like a Walkman.
It's a bit like the Zomdead bit in Shaun of the Dead. At the end, where they're on like the bouncy castles and all that shit.
And Kenneth Branagh, he got the ticket and he won a skiing trip to the Arctic and a dead family.
Yeah. Not a fucking Oscar, eh, Ken? We don't immediately get a look at De Niro.
No,
it takes us a little bit of time to get to sort of that stage. What I will say though is when we do see eventually see De Niro's face and the monster makeup, it's a bit basic, mate. It's a bit basic.
It's underwhelming.
Yeah,
but I think it's good.
I like the idea behind it. It works in the next scene we're probably going to talk about. That it's a bit more realistic, so you can. Well, it's basically jump ahead. He wakes up. He escapes.
Yes,
while he is.
Branagh has had a faint.
Yeah, and so we go to the next morning, and the monster's woken up in an alleyway, and he starts wandering around the streets. First of all with like a sheet over his head, but then it's revealed. And his face can be best described as basically having 4 really deep contusions around his head. They're basically stitched together, but there's no like bolts. It's not green. He's not a square head or anything like that. No, it looks like, maybe if he had a horrific car accident, if there were cars back then, he could explain it away like that.
Yeah.
But but in that moment, it does look quite contagious as well. And oh, look, it's the original carrier for cholera. Get him.
Yeah. I like what they do with that. Yeah. And I like one of the small details, which is that he has different coloured eyes. So it looks like he's been put together out of different people.
Yeah. I think the problem with it is, I wasn't particularly impressed with the makeup, to be honest, on the monster, but I take your point and I see where you're coming from. Yeah. I think my main issue with it, and I'm going to call out Kenneth Branagh again on this, because I don't really think it's De Niro's fault such, is that his performance is very uneven in this film.
Oh, yeah.
And it feels like he doesn't know how to play the part. And you can argue that an actor of De Niro's experience should be doing a better job than he is, and that's undeniable. But ultimately, he's not directing this film. And that performance should be directed by Kenneth Branagh, who, as Wilson's pointed out, seems to be more obsessed with his own personal agenda than directing his actors in an effective way.
Branagh obviously thrives in an environment where his characters establish dialogue with other characters, and the moment De Niro starts being shit in this film is the point when he starts talking.
Yeah.
Everything he does, the subtlety of his acting behind the makeup, I think he's absolutely brilliant early on.
Yeah,
I think you get a lot of emotion in his performance.
Yeah,
until he starts talking.
So, does he talk in the original novel then? Because it's been such a long time since I read it, I can't remember.
No.
So, is it because we've got Robert De Niro that we felt the need that he has to talk?
They've taken scenes from Bride of Frankenstein, which is where he meets the family and the blind man.
Yeah.
And in the original Bride of Frankenstein film, he learns how to say a few things like friend, cigar, music, stuff like that. So that's something they've lifted out of the film.
And now for our lesson. Remember, this is bread. Bread.
Bread.
And this is wine. To drink.
Drink.
Drink. We are friends, you and I. friends. Good. And now for a smoke. No. This is good. Smoke. You try. Oh. Good.
I quite liked the fact that they introduced him talking a bit more, because I think the brain that's gone into him is
an academic
brain. So when that brain begins to gain function, it's perfectly feasible that he would be able to talk and he would be able to have more independent thought. And I thought that was fine, to be honest. I think it's a sort of little. You have to kind of, if you're remaking any film, you have to push it on in some way, be it that in narrative, design, styling, or performance. And I think you have to bring something different to the table.
Yes, yeah.
And so I kind of don't mind that. I think it's.
Do you agree that it's handled badly though?
Yes, yeah, it is handled badly. But again, I question who's handling it badly.
Branagh, definitely.
Yeah,
without a doubt.
Yeah.
So in the cholera scene, we get to see not Frankenstein.
The monster.
I thought of it. Oh, me. Even the monster used some of his super strength. He flips over a car with a couple of people on it to
quite
escape.
like that scene.
Yeah, that's quite cool. So happens. So now he's out of town. He's gone.
He's made his escape.
Yep. And meanwhile, a bit of a weird one. You've got Victor Frankenstein is sort of delirious, but there's nothing. He's not got a cholera or anything, and that whole cholera strand is sort of dismissed as basically a line of dialogue that might just say, "Oh yeah, that's the problem with the commoners. Fuck them." And let's go back to Geneva and get married to your sister.
Yeah.
The cholera thing is a very, sorry listeners, contrived way of getting the plot moving along again. It goes back to what Dave was saying earlier about Branagh kind of spieling off a load of exposition to get shit out of the way that he doesn't have the directorial ability to do in other ways. I think that's another example of that.
Yeah. And it sows the seed slightly more. It's another piece of the puzzle where the Frankenstein family are just a lot of unlikable cunts.
Yeah.
Pardon my French.
But 2 C words in one episode.
But the people... It's a film that has no likeable people in it.
No.
Is the problem. I can't...
The monster's supposed to be likeable, He's supposed to be the person that we side with, but again, it's that whole... There seems to be... I'd love to know if De Niro and Branagh got on when they were making this film.
It makes you wonder. I didn't find the monster likeable at all. At some points, it reminded me of De Niro in Cape Fear. Especially later on when we got onto it, where he decides to take revenge. I
think especially in some of his looks, he's got a very what De Niro did brilliantly in his career, and especially in Cape Fear and Taxi Driver. He does the psychotic glare brilliantly, and he does quite a bit of that here, and it kind of puts you in a really uncomfortable position.
Yeah, I mean the sequences where he's helping the family out, I think, are quite a nice character moment.
Yeah.
Where he kind of saves their farm sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then obviously it is contrived, but the evil landlord turns up and Frankenstein kills him. Yeah. Because that's just what he, what he thinks is the right thing to do, and he kills someone. And that's quite a nice moment, I think. But then somehow we go from him being really good-natured and pleasant to just fucking 180 in.
I think it is explained, though, because he's repaid for killing the landlord by the family then shooing him away. The dad, basically beats him with something, scaring him off, because they don't know who he is. They just, see a big, scary monster there, and we scare him off. And I think because he's just basically been rejected by a family that is basically learned how to read and write from, albeit, from a distance, is taking that as, well, nobody loves me then.
Yeah, but at the same time, I'm seeing that rejection his response is so heavy-handed.
Yeah.
He actually goes on a rampage and starts killing people afterwards.
Plus, he nicked Victor's journal, so he's also read about his true nature.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, so I think it's a combination of a both.
But it's directed too heavy-handed, maybe.
Yeah, like I said, it gets a bit Cape Fear.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a scene in the film with the monster and the blind man, played by Richard Briers, that I think is actually really nicely done. And I think where the blind man sort of starts to empathise with him and he's human towards him. And I think that little sequence between them two is really nicely done, and it's also really nicely directed. I think everything works as it should do there. De Niro really seems to understand this sort of side of the monster, and Richard Briers is a fucking safe hand. And I think that little sequence works nicely.
Lovely sequence. I wish it went on a bit longer, to be honest.
I think Ken must have been on lunch when we filmed that.
Quick,
second unit.
Not here.
Yes, that's really nice, but it is hamstrung slightly by that sequence and the sequence immediately after. And actually, it's kind of a general point I want to make about the film, and maybe you're probably well placed, Dave, to chip in on this. I thought throughout the film the score was fucking terrible. I just didn't think it added anything to the film at all.
I can't remember any of it, so
I'm half and half on it. I like the music. I like the music that's there.
Yeah, I like the music.
Yeah.
But just not in this film.
No, as a sweeping gothic horror piece, I think the music's very nice. It's quite. It's got its moments of elegance, its aggression, and it centres around Frankenstein. Sorry, the monster, fairly nicely at times, but at other times it's just people. It just feels like it's passing time.
Yeah,
like Kenneth Branagh. Oh, I really want this shot of me just kind of like hanging around in my house. Can you do some music for that? For fuck's sake. Patrick Doyle is still going today, and he's still cranking out some great stuff. But this is again, like you say, great music.
Yeah,
terrible synchronicity between the two.
Yeah.
Immediately after that scene with the old blind fella, we've got probably my awful cliche moment of the week.
Yep.
Which is standing in front of a burning house while it snows, shouting, "Frankenstein, I will have my vengeance."
Well, it's funny you should say that, Dave.
Have a ruined your next point.
We're not a video podcast, but I will read while Dave reads with me my next point, which is: the monster bellowing "I will have my revenge, Frankenstein" could be another contender for cliche moment of the
yes,
episode.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
everybody throw your hands up in the air.
Full agreement, 100%. Yeah, it's fucking dire.
Oh, it is. Yeah. All the subtlety and stuff that he's built up beforehand are just like fuck it out the window.
It was the burning building.
Stop Branagh time.
Yeah, they got me.
Hands of this is my character motivation going forward.
Acting! Again, referring back to what you said originally.
Yep.
It's this whole thing of getting to a point in a narrative where we need to move it on, but we don't know how to do it without someone shouting.
Yeah.
And that's what it comes back to again.
Yeah. It's so... apparently now, it becomes apparent that it's so tonally inconsistent. Because there's... Yeah, it's the classic Rob Zombie thing where I don't know who to get behind.
Yeah.
I don't know who's good, who's bad.
After this sequence where things go wrong with the blind man and his family,
yeah,
and then we have that I was kind of like, I was not enjoying this film particularly, but I was on board. But this is where I hopped off.
You were fine to let it run until this point.
Yeah. This is where it lost me completely.
Yeah. Willie, how do we feel about that scene?
Scathing.
I was about to say, at this point, it's indifference.
Yes.
Yeah, I've got, as you said, I've got no one to care for at this point.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen this story countless times before anyway, and there's just nothing about the film that's particularly interesting me. And you know,
I think the problem is, and I think from films that we've looked at together previously, I'll refer back to Jason X as an example of this. If you don't, because there's no particular characters in that film that you give a shit about.
Yeah.
But if you don't have characters that you care about, blow shit up.
Yeah.
Yes. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas this has characters you don't care about, but it tries to maintain its almost art house pretensions.
Yeah.
And that's just not good enough.
And it's still trying to hammer in that you need to feel sorry for Frankenstein and his family.
Yeah.
Right until the very end, and you're like, you're a jerk.
Yeah, wait a minute. You've caused all this. You're all rich, pompous assholes anyway.
Yeah.
What is this?
Yeah.
But then again, I guess this is going back to the source material, because if I remember rightly, like, Mary Shelley came from like a really wealthy background as well.
Yes, she did,
and basically wrote Frankenstein for a laugh over a weekend because they were really bored in like one of their...
Yeah, it's a writing competition.
Yeah, several getaway holidays.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's from that perspective of like quite upper class, so they're probably thinking, well, you know, this guy, he may have done all this dickheaded stuff, but he's still, you know, going to marry his sister, therefore we really care about him. And it's just not true.
No. It just doesn't work in a... And for a modern audience to associate with these people, we need something a little bit more.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Make it working class. Here I come.
Can loach Frankenstein.
I'm gonna stitch him up. Be right alive.
Here, Frankie.
If anybody would like to hire Chris Wilson for voiceover work in accents and dialects, please do contact us on either at CineMortuary on Twitter or at CineMortuary on Instagram.
Lovely stuff.
Right, so let's get to Geneva then.
Let's do that.
Yeah,
everyone else does.
And well, we'll get straight to it. The monster's first victim is William, who we mentioned earlier on, Victor Frankenstein's younger son. And I enjoyed this sequence because the mother got to run around the estate shouting, "Willie!"
Everyone just shouting,
"Willie! Willie!"
You just watching it up and going, what?
Yeah.
I'm here.
Mum?
What? I'm here.
I'm about to say, for people who don't know us that well, my nickname is Willie, so it
My
works.
mum calls him Willie as well. Have you seen Willie Boy recently? Yes, I've seen Chris. Yeah.
His name's Chris. God fucking damn it.
Oh, Willie Boy.
So it's a shout out to me and Double Entendre.
Absolutely. And I don't like the scene where he meets Willie.
I don't
get it. I don't, because he's...
I find it sanitized strangely.
Yes.
This is one of my main issues with the film. It's specifically this bit, in that you've had the scene before with like lots of blood from a childbirth and like lots of blood when John Cleese got stabbed, and you will in a scene later on. But yet here, because it's a child, they even avoid showing any sort of like, well, death. Basically, I mean, he is killed. And I did read on IMDB, like, the producers wanted to avoid this sort of thing. But when you think about what happens in the 1931 version of Frankenstein, with the girl being picked up and chucked into the river, which, you know, I find it a bit funny in all fairness. But they found a way around it.
It's much more challenging, that sequence, for an audience than this one. And also, this sequence is because it's... Putting the book to one side for a minute, this is one of the few sequences in the film that you can directly compare against that original movie. And in terms of the way that Frankenstein's depicted. So when Frankenstein kills the little girl and throws her into the lake or whatever it is in the first film, he's almost playing with her. It's almost like seeing a cat and a dog play with each other.
Like an accident.
Yeah, and it's a total accident, and he doesn't understand what he's done, and that garners a lot of sympathy for the monster from the audience, whereas this doesn't, does it?
Nasty,
it's nasty, and again, back to what Chris was saying, who are we supposed to be empathising with now?
I find, because his character is a 1A, he's sat there playing on his flute, which is a reference to Son of Frankenstein, with Bela Lugosi playing a flute to control the monster. There we go.
Thanks,
Dave's annoying twattish trivia.
Yeah.
And then he turns to see the kid, and it looks like they're going to kind of make friends. And he brings the monster home, and then it all goes wrong. I was hoping that would happen. But then he finds out, oh, that's Frankenstein's little brother. All right, come back here. No, I'm not going to hurt you. Come back. And then, it happens off screen.
And then it's just like, get here. Get you little shit. Ah!
It turns into the child catcher. It's very strange.
Yeah.
So, that's a thing that happens.
Yep.
And then we have the...
I'm cracking open a cool, crisp Coke Zero, by the way, so I apologise for the noise.
Yeah,
Other drinks
crack
available.
They are indeed, yeah. So then we move on to the finding of the child.
Where are they?
And the poor girl who gets put the blame well and truly at her door.
Right. You're gonna
Sherry
have to,
Lungy's daughter, I believe.
if we can talk this scene out how it happens, because I looked away for 5 seconds.
You know what? The same thing happened to me. I looked away, and suddenly it's like, wait, why are they hanging his mum?
Hang on,
she got a collar.
She's in a barn. Wait, what? She's got a necklace. She's in a barn. Wait, what? No, what?
Wait, they're suddenly back in town again.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on?
So
basically, what I think happened is...
what you thought Kenneth Branagh wanted you to do.
I think the girl... I will refer to her as the girl, because I do not know her character name. She's hunting for the child.
She's the nanny.
She's the nanny, right.
Yeah.
She has a funny turn in the barn and collapses. I can't remember. I think she might spot the monster.
Okay, yeah.
And in a panic collapses, I think.
Yep.
Anyway, it's a little bit contrived.
You've got to have a feint if you don't know how to move on.
So she faints, and in the intervening period where she's out in the barn, the child is found dead. Everyone returns to the house. Everyone's very, very upset. And then Celia Imrie, her mother, realises that she's still missing. Where is she? Meanwhile, word has got around that a child has been murdered and the killer is still on the loose. She comes round in the barn. Because she's not gone back to the house with everyone else, she's found by the pitchfork-wielding mob.
And the monster has left her with the little boy's necklace.
Correct,
is that right?
yes.
Okay,
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So that they find the necklace on her, and then they assume, well, she's gone done it. Which then leads to her being quite fucking brutally hanged.
Bonus points for an angry mob in a Frankenstein film.
Yeah.
Do love that.
Yeah, like a pitchfork, so I do. But yeah, this is one of only 2 moments in this film when I thought, fuck me, that's a bit brutal. And this is the first of the 2. And it's very... For a film that's been so ponderous throughout...
And foppish.
And foppish.
Reserved. Yeah.
It's very impactful and very point A, point B, done to the point. And I think... You know, Victor Frankenstein and his family and everyone on the ground, Celia Imrie in particular, plays it really well.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's just very snappily done. And it took me a bit by surprise because it was so snappily done because of the pace of the rest of the film,
Sir, you must come immediately. The townspeople have gone mad.
My God, what are they doing?
They must have broken into the jail. Well, for God's sake, man, can't you stop this? They've gone wild. This is a lynching mob. Oh, stop! This is unlawful! Justice!
So that's what I think happened there anyway, mate.
Yeah.
That's my interpretation.
That's kind of what I managed to piece together after missing 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just thought it was cholera.
Oh, collar up, Bennett.
Yep.
Get her!
So the next bit then is the monster basically walks up to Frankenstein in his estate.
Broad daylight.
In broad daylight. And they tease a showdown, which on top of the ice cavern or whatever. And then they go up through the mountains, they slide through a few ice tunnels, and then they have a nice sit down and talk about things for 10 minutes.
It's very safe-looking ice tunnels, can I say? It reminded me of Waterworld in York, where basically it's just like nice, perfect, round, cylindrical...
Yeah. Or the Wampa Caves in Empire Strikes Back. It's just a set.
Yeah, it definitely is a set, isn't it? There's no illusions there.
Or back to Funhouse again.
Back to Funhouse.
Reach out. Oh, I've won a dead brother.
And it took Victor Frankenstein all of, a couple of hours to get there from his house?
Yeah.
So I think it's not particularly hard fought or epic to get there, is it? No.
So, I mean, because he travelled, if the scenes to be believed, he travelled over that to go to doctor's school to begin with. So it's like basically going to university but living at home, isn't it?
Yeah. Just going to the shops on the way to uni, and then you can meet the monster.
So we have Victor and the monster talk, and I found the scene really dull. I just tuned out, and you could summarise everything in the last 6 lines of dialogue, which is basically the monster wants a bride. Give me a month.
Yeah, I found just before that when he talks about killing Willie, and he's like, I held him up and I crushed his throat, and he's just kind of like beating Branagh down, and Branagh's just sort of taking it. Branagh doesn't really seem to react properly. Like, I've just killed your little brother, right? Ripped his throat out, tore his head off, and ripped his legs off, and then shut down his neck, and Branagh's like,
Branagh's like, but will this affect my Oscar? Positive, negative? What will it do? What will it do for my chances?
I was kind of on the fence with De Niro's performance up until this point.
Yep.
And at this point, I got off the fence and I got down on the, you're not fucking doing great work
you
here.
don't know what you're doing, mate. No,
you're not doing great work here. You're both playing this scene terribly. And we know both these guys can act. We've seen them both deliver good performances in other films. But fuck me, Robert De Niro, he's just fucking mahogany, mate. He's pure wood. He's just literally reading his sides, and then just repeating. You can tell he has no belief whatsoever in what he's saying, and it's just very, very fucking poor.
I mean, you've sat in probably in an audition room for casting, once or twice, and I've done the same. And you will get someone in who's just a straight up no, and they'll just fucking sit themselves down, and they'll do what De Niro did, and you're like, cool, okay.
We've got quite a few people to get through.
Yep.
And
we'll call you.
We'll
call you. Jesus. How did you feel about the scene overall?
Like I said, just dull. I tuned out. He just wasn't.
I tuned out as well.
He just wasn't very good.
Yeah.
If they could have cut that scene by more than half.
Yeah.
Like I said, the punchlines at the end. Maybe bride done.
Yeah. And that is, again, he's just fucking just chugging the story on to the next set piece, to the next motivation. Oh my god.
Which the next motivation is Victor tries to lame the wedding to his adopted sister.
Yes.
I think he's adopted, whatever.
Yeah.
but when Liz threatens to leave him to, go marry a cousin or something, they decide they should just get married instead, and Victor is probably better trying to hunt down the monster than make a bride for him. But, believe him, because as they go into the town to hunt him, the monster's on the estate anyway.
Yes. And he gets halfway through the process, doesn't he? Where he has the nanny's body. Is that right? Or am I imagining that?
He starts it, but he gets derailed pretty quickly when his sister / wife-to-be threatens to leave.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I straight up fucking tuned out for this entire section of the film.
Oh, it's dog shit. Yeah.
I literally, I don't have any notes until Frankenstein marries his half-sister.
Well, they're running up and down that big epic staircase a few times.
Right.
And then basically he's got his shirt off again. He's all sweaty and grimy because he's been touching dead bodies, obviously.
Yeah.
So I'm not really on his side at this point. And then he emotionally blackmails his sister into marrying him right now.
Yeah, I don't know if I stuck the kettle on for this bit. I just, and that's the harshest criticism I can make of this film, and the harshest criticism I'll make of any film we look at on this podcast is the point of these films that we watch is that they're shit, right? That's a lot for the most part. The worst sin you can commit is be shit and boring, mate.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't fucking bore me. Jason X is a shit film, but it doesn't bore me. No. Rob Zombie's Halloween is a shit film, but it's not boring either.
No.
You know, the ultimate sin is to be boring.
Oh,
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. And it goes back to his tonal inconsistencies where are you doing a period piece where you're going for an Oscar, or are you doing a fucking horror film? What are you doing?
You can't do them both, mate. Horror films don't win Oscars unless it's called Silence of the Lambs.
I mean, it's marketed as a thriller.
Exactly.
Oh, okay, really?
It was, yeah.
Consider myself warned.
Yeah. You better watch out, Dave.
Yeah.
Better watch out. Shall we get to the horror bit then, which is on the night of the honeymoon?
Yes.
Yes.
Where while Victor and his sister have, they.
Do you know, I just want to jump in quickly on this because something really made me want to vomit during this scene, and it's a line of dialogue that Kenneth Branagh delivers, and he basically turns to her while they're laid in bed and says, "Brother and sister no more, we're now husband and wife."
Yes.
Awful.
When I rewatched it a couple of times, and because I thought that's such a bad line of dialogue, I can't believe Frank Darabont wrote it, and then it clicked. I honestly, hand on heart, would love to see a copy of the script because I think that is scene description that he's worked into his dialogue. Because that's the kind of thing that if you're a writer, you would write, "They are brother and sister no more. Now husband and wife," and then he'd say a line.
Yeah.
And that it just fucking threw me straight out there. I thought, is he doing a read through? Is he reading the description?
Here's my thoughts on it. Boke.
Just bulking material.
Absolute boke.
For the listeners, I think that's Grimsby for chunder or vomit.
It's Gippin, mate. Gippin. Always Gippin and Grimsby one as well.
It made me want to vomit.
Heaving.
Yeah, dry heaving. Right, dry heaving.
Bulking,
Yeah,
Gippin,
it was fucking gross, wasn't it? Basically.
Yeah.
I wrote ew in capital letters.
Yeah. Thankfully, they're interrupted quite quickly. The monster coaxes Victor away.
They fucking just interrupted.
Yeah.
Me.
Yeah, Christ. And it leaves the monster alone with Elizabeth, obviously played by Helmborn Carter.
Yep, for a bit of Mortal Kombat action.
Yeah.
Fucketh me.
This is...
Fuck. Go on, Wilson, you cover
kill
this.
Scene. He literally rips the heart out of her chest.
Yeah.
And holds it to Kenneth Branagh.
Yeah, holds it right in his face. It's like...
Yeah.
And then, as if to put the fucking exclamation point on it, he throws her off the bed, head first, into a fucking candle that sets her head on fire.
That is really...
And she smashes her head on the bedside
That's the only
cabinet
bit
as well.
I'm uncomfortable with, is that he just fucking tosses the body aside. And she bangs her head on the way down.
Yeah, it's
on
just
fire.
It's just unbelievable. It's almost like they're getting towards the end of the shoot, and they've been looking at the edit and they've thought, fucking hell. It's supposed to be a horror film, this. Right, we need to raise the stakes a bit here.
Right, get a crash mat down.
Get a crash mat down, blow some shit up, pull a heart out. Good God.
We lost him. Elizabeth!
Don't bother to scream.
I keep my promises.
Yeah, just so much gore. It's just... But, yeah, I don't even know how to describe that. It comes out of nowhere as well.
He's on... apparently we have glass roofs in hunting lodges now, in the 18th century or whatever it is. So when she looks up in her bed, she sees that Robert De Niro is just on the glass, just like... Alright.
Yeah.
And then he just lands on top of that, yeah. That's how he gets in.
But that was a bit of a weird moment as well, because the way it's edited, he's on top of the glass. Then she's about to scream, and somehow in that time he's managed to get off the ceiling and to the side of the bed to cover her hand.
Yes, and he doesn't break through the glass because it doesn't rain in the room. So I don't know how he gets in, Willie. I don't know. It's just one of those Kenneth Branagh mysteries.
Yeah.
And then at this point, Kenneth Branagh goes fucking well off the deep end.
Absolutely.
Goes absolutely batshit mental.
Yeah.
And decides he has to resurrect his wife.
Because he can.
Because he can, apparently.
And it's at this point where he starts actually almost acting like he's in the film.
Yeah, he does. He does. He
Almost.
does. He raises his game slightly.
Yeah.
And it just... Fuck me. This last sort of 10 minutes is some depressing shit, isn't it, though?
Yeah.
Good God.
Yeah.
So basically, we go back to his little...
Castle Frankenstein.
And
Ian Holm's dead, by the way.
Ian Holm's dead, yeah. He tagged out at random.
With the monster next to him. It's like, oh, he's already dead. Never mind.
Fine, fair enough. Beat me to it. So yeah, we get into the reanimation of his wife to become the bride of somebody. And it's a bit tragic, really.
Yeah.
It's a bit tragic.
So Elizabeth is reanimated, and funny enough, she resembles and walks like Helena Bonham Carter in a Tim Burton film. Funny that. And basically what happens then is the monster and Victor get themselves into a cock-waving contest trying to get...
don't forget the little dancing thing.
Yeah, well, that's what I was about to say.
Right.
They get into a cock-waving contest trying to basically get the first dance with the new corpse bride.
Yeah.
Damn it, is that a pun? Ish. Kinda.
Yeah, and it goes on for a bit longer than it needs to, like the rest of the film. Basically, I'm going to heavily abridge this. So she gets bounced around between these two blokes a couple of times, and it's a bit like the practice of grabbing, it seems, which is basically he who grabs her the hardest and throws her about a bit wins his bride. And at this point, Elizabeth, or the reanimated Elizabeth, thinks, do you know what? Fuck all it is. I would literally rather set myself on fire.
Yes. Yeah.
Which, in all fairness, who wouldn't?
Yeah. Well, yeah. When choosing between De Niro and Kenneth Branagh in this fucking film, I'd set myself on fire as well.
She's beautiful.
She's not for you.
Come.
Elizabeth? Say my name. Elizabeth!
You're beautiful.
Say my name, Elizabeth. That's right, Elizabeth.
No, you're mine. Look. You're mine.
Leave her alone! No!
Get away from her, she's mine.
She's mine! She said my name! She remembered!
She's mine!
And we discover that Frankenstein's house is, in fact, all the paint is just a mixture of C4.
Yeah, like, she doesn't just set herself on fire, she runs through the entire mine, she's going, I'm going to ruin everything.
And everything explodes around her.
And it all goes tits up.
Yeah.
I think we go back to the land device, and I wouldn't fucking care, Rob. Popcorn rating, shit rating.
65 turds out of 1. I think, they go back to, let's try and at least...
So we have to fuck her off.
Cack-handed bookending. Right, so I don't understand this at all. I don't understand where we are in the narrative. Are we in the same narrative places at the start? Or
So I think what has happened is the monster has run off after that, and Victor has tried to follow him because they're a father and son sort of thing, and they've just been kind of looking for each other for years in the Arctic.
Right.
And then finally, Kenneth Branagh just dies, and the monster finally catches up to him, sort of thing.
And they both burn together, don't they?
Yeah,
basically.
the funeral scene together, which, you know, the imagery in this is quite nice.
Yeah.
I think, where he's floating away on an iceberg by himself.
But the audience has gone home by now. Do you
The
know?
audience has gone home, yeah.
To use a football analogy,
Yeah.
you know, it's they're 4-0 down, mate. It's pissing with rain, and everyone wants to beat the traffic.
Saturday afternoon at Blundell Park.
Rub the Mariners. So yeah, that's Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, isn't it? Really.
I will apologise to you guys, by the way. You would have sat through 2 hours and 5 minutes.
We did, yeah.
I immediately noticed when I was watching the Laserdisc version that they'd actually sped up the picture to fit it on a 2-hour disc.
It's another advantage of Laserdisc.
Yeah,
then.
yeah, and it clocked in at about 100 minutes, maybe 110.
So it's like 30 minutes, 35 minutes that we'll never get back.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah,
Thanks,
just fucking
Dave.
flew by, mate.
Yeah, literally. Right, well.
Closing thoughts, anyone? Any redeeming points, first of all, generally?
I think, as mentioned previously, I thought some of the production design was really nice. I thought some of the costumes were all right.
Oh, lovely costume.
Yeah, nice costume. I quite liked De Niro's costume.
Yeah.
I quite liked some of the locations they used. I think it was, you know, the production design was nice.
You noticed that De Niro gained a foot in height
Yeah,
with that massive long coat.
I thought the script wasn't bad. I thought it was the direction of said script that was the real issue.
Yeah.
That is my closing thoughts.
Yep.
Yeah, I was going to say the script's perfectly fine.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like locations, you know, the cinematography as well. Yeah, I thought was decent enough. You know, it is at the end of the day, all the fault lies at the direction. I think.
Yeah.
And again, I don't think it's an awful film. I just think it's so average. So
It's background noise, isn't it?
yeah, it's so
Ambient radiation.
underwhelming.
Yeah.
You know, even for an adaptation of a story that we've heard to death by now, it's just there's nothing to it.
No, not
apart
at
from
all.
a couple of like really surprisingly gory scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of, again, it felt like a background noise film for me.
Yeah.
I came off it pretty much straight off the bat of Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, Son of Frankenstein, and Ghost of Frankenstein, which, considering that's a quadrilogy, all the movies managed to get better each time.
Yeah.
And then it comes down to this, and I'm like, all right, it's been 70 years. How have we not
cracked this yet?
How have we not managed to improve on that formula from 1931? So, yeah, I would say I'm sorry, but this is the point of this podcast, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, you put us through it. There's only one more thing to do, really, isn't it, Dave?
Absolutely. Wilson.
Yep.
Turns out of 10.
Shit rating, I'd probably say a 6.
Okay, not a bona fide shiter?
Not bona fide, just very underwhelming and quite Kenneth Branagh in its nature.
Yeah. A litter tray that you come home to after a long day at work.
Yeah.
Just a bit of a letdown.
Yeah, and in terms of popcorn rating, I'd say about a 5. Well, I said it's just such an average film in every way. I mean, we've had stuff to complain about, but it's just so average. You know, I wouldn't have thought about this film again if I wasn't doing a podcast about it.
No, unless I stumbled upon it in that guy's garage, like, Rob, turds.
I think I'm going to have to agree with Chris Wilson and go with a steady 6. From a lot of technical perspectives, there's nothing wrong with it. The script's fine. It's just the direction, and it's just a bit of an ego trip for Kenneth Branagh. So, yeah. I'm with Chris Wilson on that.
Popcorn, mate.
Hard 3.
Shit.
Stale.
It's just not an enjoyable experience. You know what I mean? And as I mentioned earlier, I can forgive a terrible film that entertains me and blows shit up. I can't forgive a terrible film that's fucking boring as well. It's the one sin. You know, it's a medium of entertainment.
Yes.
You can't be that boring.
You can't just be a medium, can you?
How about you, Dave?
Turds, I'm gonna give it a 5.
Right.
Because I think a lot of it is made up for by the quality of the actual production.
Okay.
I think in terms of the actual physical craft that is on screen.
Yep.
I can't be much harsher on it, to be honest. There's a lot of stuff wrong with it.
Yeah.
And those 5 turds are specifically centered around one human being.
Yeah.
In terms of popcorn, 3.
Yeah, with me on the 3.
I'm with you on the 3, yeah. It just drifted past. I was painting some fucking polystyrene at the time. As boring as that sounds. Just to pass it on, yeah. But yeah, I'm sorry, guys.
It's all right, mate. We'll get you back.
I'll dig Bram Stoker's Dracula out of the mud at some point.
Oh, leave it for a few months at least.
Yeah, please.
No, it won't be next, don't worry. So, that leaves us with just saying our goodbyes and what is coming next time.
Chris Wilson.
Yeah, it's my go next time.
Big Willy time.
It is, and I think next time's going to be a bit different, I hope.
Yeah.
In that we're not going to do something that's shit, unless you think it's shit. Personally, I really, really enjoy this film.
Yep.
And it's the 1978 version of Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Starring Donald Sutherland, Leonard Nimoy, and I think Jeff Goldblum wandered onto the set. And
Veronica Cartwright.
And Veronica Cartwright and Brooke Adams.
Yep.
And and Jeff Goldblum wandered onto the set, and then we just gave him the credit.
Excited. I've never seen this film, so I'm looking forward to it.
Well, you better get watching it then, because it's going to be our next episode.
Yeah,
So.
well, true. I will crack on.
Yeah, you've got 5 minutes. Hey.
I'll be right back.
Yeah. Cool. So it is bye-bye from me.
It's a goodbye from me.
And a goodbye from me.
Bye, Willy.
Bye, Willy.
Bye!
Don't forget, you can follow us and keep up with all our updates at CineMortuary on Twitter, /CineMortuary on Facebook, and of course at CineMortuary on Instagram. I don't know how you do pictures of podcasts, but we're going to do that anyway.